Hello and welcome to Trojan Talk. I'm your host, Aaron Taylor. With me today is Barbara Patterson, Director of Student Involvement here at Troy University. Barbara, thanks for joining me here today.
Oh, I'm always happy to be here.
And of course, we bring you back here in the spring. You're here in the fall and in the spring talking about student involvement.
Yes.
In both semesters, there's kind of a different theme to getting involved.
Yes.
And mid-school year is usually a more interesting time for students because they've gotten in the swing of things, but even more interesting and add complications is the threat of COVID and how that has impacted. First and foremost, kind of talk about the traditional issues, or I guess getting involved in mid-semester, how sometimes students feel that, you know, I can't get involved with a group because things have already been going.
You know, lots of students and their parents want them to wait one semester to get to the feel of college, how college works, you know, figure out all the kinks, make their first semester of grades, and then say, then your second semester get involved. And then lots of times they're like, oh, I missed out on getting involved fall semester, so I'll just wait till the fall semester when everything kind of opens back up again, not realizing that most student organizations are delighted to have new members in the spring. Everyone is really looking for new members to join in the spring and want and welcome people to join. So we want students to think about, yes, I can join this spring.
Yeah, and that's one of the concern of the stigma of coming in midstream, that that if you come in, you're going to get pushed aside, or they're not going to worry about you because everybody else has already been involved with the group.
Exactly. No, they will be delighted, and because you might be one of a smaller number, you might even get a little bit more preferential treatment.
But another thing is about this is the added concern of COVID, and we talked about this when you were here in the fall, and how things are changing due to COVID. But obviously, everyone has kind of already made a lot of that adaptation to COVID, and the concerns are probably not as much as they were in the fall here in the spring.
Well, you know, our student groups really worked really hard to adapt and to try to have the best possible experience they could have for their members. They really embraced the technology that the university has that they could use, but then, you know, there's the high tech, but there was also the high touch. You know, the students still met in smaller groups, they met social distanced, they tried to do everything that they could to make sure that the group and the organization could still continue, but also continue to do in safe ways. And so organizations now really kind of have that down pat, and they know what they need to do to try to keep members safe and to keep the organization moving along. So I think students should feel even more comfortable about joining now because of the organization leaders having that experience and running the organization with CDC guidelines.
And establishing those protocols. But one of the things is just having these student groups and being able to meet, I would think, adds a small sense of normalcy to what we were used to on the college campus.
I think it does. And, you know, being part of a student group helps you find your niche. And sometimes you'll hear students say, I'm so bored with going to class and going back to my dorm room. And that's just the routine. And so we want them to add to that experience. We want them to go to the athletic events. We want them to join one or two organizations and start participating in those activities, and it will enhance their student life so much.
And of course, some of the ways that it would enhance, you know, socialization is one, but just the getting to know the campus and getting involved. But obviously, and you know, and you talked about before, involvement helps in a lot of ways, going back to the classroom as an outlet.
Well, you know, one thing that people don't realize is that many of our organizations are focused around their academic majors. And so practically every major has an organization around it. So if a student will just join the organization that has to do with their major, they will meet other people who are in their classes outside of the classroom setting, so that they'll have a familiar face when they do go into the classroom setting. They get to meet their faculty advisor who will teach some of their classes, and get to know that faculty advisor in a different way outside of the classroom, and the faculty advisor gets to know them in a different way outside of the classroom. We have so many wonderful faculty who advise our organizations, who develop many great personal relationships with our students. And so that's just one aspect of the many organizations that we have. Of course, our social Greek organizations, one of the things they try so hard to do is to get students involved in every aspect of campus life. You'll find many of them saying, hey, we're going to go to the basketball game Friday night. Come on and join us. And a bunch of them will get together and go to that basketball game together. They will do and participate in many of the Troy events and many of the community events. Many of the Greek organizations are planning to participate in Habitat's Polar Bear Plunge. and so just even
activities like that, and
right.
that's just a small taste of getting involved in some of those things expands their horizons, gets them out of their dorm rooms, gets them into the community. And it sounds like an amazing opportunity to encourage students out there to get involved. And Barbara, I want to thank you for joining us here today and telling us about the ways students to get involved, especially in this time of COVID craziness, that there's still an opportunity. And Barbara, and they can come see you guys in the Trojan Center if they need any help with that. Thanks for joining us here today.
Thank you.
And thank you for joining us on today's edition of Trojan Talk.